A millionaire abandoned his pregnant fiancée. But what happens 3 years later will leave you speechless. He walked away when she needed him most. She rebuilt her life without him. But fate had a shocking twist waiting. You won't believe the emotional reunion that changed everything. This true story proves love deserves a second chance. Watch till the end. The ending will stay with you forever. Before we get started, smash that like button, subscribe for more powerful stories, and share this with someone who needs hope. Because this isn't just a story, it's a life lesson in love, second chances, and the power of forgiveness. Let's grow together. The grand ballroom shimmered under the glow of crystal chandeliers. Soft music floated through the air as elegantly dressed guests mingled. Among them stood Daniel Carter, a self-made millionaire, sipping champagne with practiced ease. He had come to the charity gala to network, to donate, and to forget. But fate had other plans. Across the room, a woman in a simple yet stunning emerald gown caught his eye. Her laughter was warm, her presence radiant. Then she turned. Daniel's breath hitched. It was her. Sophia. The woman he had loved. The woman he had left. 3 years ago, he had walked away when she told him she was pregnant. Fear had clouded his judgment. The thought of fatherhood had terrified him. Now, as he stared at her, time seemed to freeze. She was even more beautiful than he remembered. But what struck him hardest was the little boy clinging to her hand. The child had curly brown hair and bright, curious eyes. Eyes that mirrored his own. Daniel's heart pounded. His palms grew clammy. Memories flooded back. Sophia's tears, his cold dismissal, the door slamming behind him. He had thought he was protecting himself. Instead he had lost everything. Sophia's gaze met his. For a moment, shock flickered across her face. Then she composed herself, lifting her chin with quiet strength. The little boy tugged at her dress, whispering something. She smiled down at him, brushing his hair tenderly. Daniel felt a pang of longing so sharp it nearly brought him to his knees. He had missed it all. Her pregnancy. Their son's first steps. The sleepless nights she had faced alone. Guilt wrapped around him like a suffocating blanket. But then, something unexpected happened. Sophia nodded at him. Not with anger. Not with bitterness. But with a quiet grace that left him stunned. Before he could move, a man approached her. He was tall, kind-eyed, and effortlessly gentle. He scooped the little boy into his arms, kissing Sophia's forehead. Daniel's stomach twisted. Was this her husband? Had she moved on? The man whispered something to her, and she laughed. The sound was light, happy, free. Daniel's chest ached. He had no right to interrupt her peace. Yet he could not look away. The boy reached for the man's tie, giggling. The man pretended to growl, making the child squeal with delight. Family. Real family. One he had thrown away. Daniel turned, ready to leave. But then, Daniel! Her voice stopped him. Familiar. He turned back, heart racing. Sophia stood before him, her son balanced on her hip. The man lingered a step behind, watching with quiet understanding. This is Lucas, she said gently. The boy peeked at Daniel, then hid his face in Sophia's neck. Daniel's throat tightened. He's beautiful, he whispered. Sophia smiled, but her eyes held sorrow. This is Michael, she continued, gesturing to the man beside her. My husband. The word struck like a dagger. Yet Michael extended his hand. It's good to finally meet you, he said, his voice sincere. Daniel hesitated, then shook it. The warmth in Michael's grip surprised him. No hostility. No jealousy. Just kindness. Sophia took a deep breath. We co-parent Lucas together, she explained. Michael has been his father in every way that matters. Daniel's vision blurred. He had expected anger. He had deserved it. But here they stood, offering him grace. Michael squeezed Sophia's shoulder. I'll give you two a moment, he murmured. He took Lucas's hand, leading him toward the dessert table. Sophia watched them go, her expression tender. Then she faced Daniel. "Why did you leave?" she asked softly. The question he had dreaded. The one he had asked himself every night. Daniel swallowed hard. "I was scared," he admitted. "I thought I would fail you both." Sophia studied him. Her eyes held no judgment, only understanding. "You did fail us," she said quietly. "But we survived." She glanced at Lucas, now laughing as Michael lifted him to reach a cupcake. "And we found happiness." Daniel's eyes burned. "I am so sorry, Sophia." She nodded. "I know." Silence settled between them. Then she surprised him again. "Lucas should know you," she said. Daniel's head snapped up. "What?" Sophia's smile was sad but resolute. "He deserves to know his father." Her forgiveness was a gift he had not earned. Tears spilled down his cheeks. "Thank you," he choked out. Sophia reached out, brushing his arm lightly. "Don't thank me yet." Her voice was firm but gentle. "This won't be easy." Daniel nodded fiercely. "I will do whatever it takes." Sophia studied him a moment longer. Then she turned to rejoin her family. But before she walked away, she glanced back. "We'll call you." Those 3 words filled him with hope. Daniel watched as Michael lifted Lucas onto his shoulders. The boys' laughter rang through the ballroom. Sophia slipped her hand into Michael's, leaning into him. They were a picture of love, of resilience, of second chances. And for the first time in years, Daniel allowed himself to believe in redemption. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of emotions for Daniel. Every phone call from Sophia felt like both a gift and a penance. He learned that Lucas loved dinosaurs, hated carrots, and had a laugh that could light up a room. Each detail was a treasure he had almost missed forever. The first time he visited their home, his hands trembled as he rang the doorbell. Lucas answered, peering up at him with those familiar curious eyes. "Are you my daddy?" he asked bluntly. Daniel's heart stopped. Sophia appeared behind Lucas, resting a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, sweetheart," she said softly. "This is your father." Lucas studied him for a long moment. Then he reached out and took Daniel's hand. "Come see my toys," he announced, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Daniel let himself be led inside, his throat tight. Michael stood in the living room, offering a nod of welcome. There was no resentment in his gaze, only quiet support. Over time, Daniel learned the full story. How Sophia had struggled alone, working 2 jobs while pregnant. How Michael, an old friend from college, had stepped in to help. How love had grown slowly, rooted in shared sacrifices and quiet acts of kindness. One evening, as Daniel pushed Lucas on the backyard swing, Sophia joined him. "You're good with him," she observed. Daniel shook his head. "I don't deserve this chance." Sophia sighed. "Maybe not," she admitted. "But Lucas does." The truth of her words settled deep in his bones. This was no longer about his guilt or his regrets. It was about what his son needed. As the months passed, Daniel became a steady presence in Lucas's life. He attended school plays, helped with homework, even learned to endure endless rounds of Baby Shark with a smile. Michael never made him feel like an outsider. Instead, he treated Daniel as a partner in raising the boy they both loved. One rainy afternoon, Lucas drew a family portrait at kindergarten. He presented it proudly to his teacher. "This is my mommy, my daddy Michael, and my daddy Daniel," he declared. When Sophia showed Daniel the drawing that night, he broke down. The simple, unconditional love in those crayon lines undid him completely. Years later, at Lucas's high school graduation, Daniel stood beside Sophia and Michael. As their son crossed the stage, the 3 of them cheered louder than anyone. Afterward, Lucas hugged each of them tightly. "Thank you," he whispered, "for giving me everything." Daniel looked at Sophia, the woman who had taught him forgiveness. At Michael, the man who had shown him generosity. And at Lucas, the child who had redeemed him. He had once thought love was about pride and possession. Now he knew better. Love was sacrifice. Love was humility. Love was choosing what was best for someone else, even when it cost you everything. As the sunset painted the sky in gold and violet, Daniel realized something profound. He had lost Sophia as a lover. But through her mercy, he had gained something far greater: family. 5 years later, on a crisp autumn morning, Lucas stood at the altar waiting for his bride. Daniel adjusted his tie nervously, standing beside Michael as co-best men. Sophia, now silver-haired but radiant, dabbed her eyes in the front row. The music swelled, and Lucas's face lit up as his fiancée walked down the aisle. After the ceremony, during the reception toast, Lucas raised his glass. "Most people have one dad to thank for who they've become," he began, voice thick with emotion. "I was blessed with two." The room erupted in applause as Lucas pulled both Daniel and Michael into a three-way hug. Later that evening, Daniel found Sophia watching the sunset from the garden terrace. They stood in comfortable silence, just like they had 3 decades before when they were young and life seemed simple. "Do you ever wonder?" Daniel started, then hesitated. Sophia smiled knowingly. "If we'd made different choices," she finished. Daniel nodded. Sophia gazed at where Michael was dancing with the bride, his laughter carrying across the lawn. "Every choice brought us here," she said softly. "To this moment. To this family." She reached for Daniel's hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. "And I wouldn't change a thing." Daniel realized with sudden clarity that love wasn't finite, it multiplied. His love for Sophia had transformed into something deeper. A love that made room for Michael. A love that created space for Lucas to thrive. A love that now welcomed a new daughter-in-law. As fireworks lit up the night sky, Daniel watched his unconventional, extraordinary family celebrating together. The pain of the past had fertilized the joy of the present. And for the first time in his life, Daniel Carter understood what it truly meant to be rich. The wedding reception was winding down when Lucas approached Daniel with a mischievous grin. "Dad," he said, using the title that still made Daniel's heart swell, "there's someone I want you to meet." He led Daniel to a quiet corner where a young woman sat holding a sleeping toddler. Daniel's breath caught as Lucas explained, "This is Emily, and your granddaughter Lily." Time seemed to stop as Daniel looked down at the child's face, seeing Lucas's same curious eyes, Sophia's delicate nose, and perhaps even a hint of his own chin. Sophia appeared beside him, gasping as she took in the scene. "You kept this secret," she whispered to Lucas, her voice trembling with emotion. Michael joined them, immediately understanding. Without hesitation, he wrapped an arm around Sophia's shoulders while extending his other hand to Emily. "Welcome to our crazy family," he said warmly. As Daniel reached out to gently touch Lily's tiny hand, the baby stirred and grasped his finger with surprising strength. In that moment, surrounded by the people he loved most in the world, his past, present and future all intertwined, Daniel realized this wasn't an ending at all. It was simply another beautiful beginning. The music started up again as Lucas swept Emily onto the dance floor, while Sophia and Michael swayed together nearby. Daniel cradled his sleeping granddaughter, marveling at how life had come full circle. Where there had once been pain and regret, there was now only love, expanding, multiplying, and creating new miracles with each passing year. The story wasn't over. It would never be over. Because love, once planted, continues to grow forever. 1 year later, Daniel found himself pacing outside a hospital delivery room, his polished leather shoes squeaking against the linoleum floor. The antiseptic smell mixed with the faint floral notes from the bouquet he clutched, yellow roses, Sophia's favorite. Across from him, Lucas ran nervous hands through his hair, identical to how Daniel used to before life had softened his edges. "They won't let me in there," Lucas muttered for the 10th time. "Something about too many people in the delivery room." Michael chuckled as he handed Lucas a paper cup of terrible hospital coffee. "Patience, son. When Sophia was in labor with you, I had to wait." He stopped abruptly, glancing at Daniel. A moment of awkward silence settled between the three men before Daniel surprised himself by laughing. "It's all right, Michael. You were there when I wasn't." He placed a hand on Lucas's shoulder. "And today we're all here together." The delivery room doors swung open, revealing a beaming nurse. "Mr. Carter, you have a healthy baby boy." Lucas nearly dropped his coffee. "A boy." Emily was so sure it was a girl. As they rushed into the room, Daniel hung back, watching through misty eyes as Lucas kissed Emily's sweaty forehead and Michael carefully cradled the newborn. Sophia caught Daniel's gaze from where she stood by Emily's side, her silver hair glowing in the morning light streaming through the window. "Come meet your grandson," she mouthed, extending her hand. Daniel's knees nearly buckled as the tiny bundle was placed in his arms. The baby's face scrunched up, then relaxed as Daniel began humming an old lullaby he'd forgotten he knew. To his astonishment, the infant quieted. "He recognizes your voice," Emily said sleepily. "Lucas plays those old home videos of you singing to him all the time." Daniel's throat tightened. He hadn't known those recordings existed. His eyes met Lucas's, seeing decades of unspoken forgiveness and love reflected back at him. In that moment, surrounded by 4 generations of family, from Sophia still holding his hand to the new life in his arms, Daniel understood the true power of second chances. The story kept unfolding, each chapter more beautiful than the last. The baby shower for Lucas and Emily's second child was in full swing when Daniel noticed Sophia slipping away to the garden. The autumn leaves crunched underfoot as he followed her to the old stone bench where they'd once sat as young lovers. "You're missing the cake," Daniel said softly, sitting beside her. Sophia smiled, her eyes on the horizon where the sun dipped low. "Just needed a moment. Overwhelming sometimes. All this joy." Daniel studied her profile, the laugh lines deeper now, the silver strands glinting in her hair. Without thinking, he reached for her hand. "Do you remember when we thought we'd ruined everything?" A tear slipped down Sophia's cheek as she squeezed his fingers. "Look at us now." Inside, the sounds of laughter spilled through the open windows. Michael entertaining the children with magic tricks. Lucas helping Emily open presents. Little Lily giggling as she smeared frosting on her grandfather's nose. Daniel exhaled slowly, the weight of decades lifting from his shoulders. "We made something beautiful from the broken pieces, didn't we?" Sophia rested her head against his shoulder, just for a moment. "More beautiful than we ever could have planned." As the first stars appeared above them, neither moved to go back inside. There was time yet for cake and celebrations. For now, they sat in peaceful silence, 2 souls who had traveled through storms to reach this quiet harbor. The music changed inside, a familiar song from their youth drifting through the autumn air. Daniel stood and bowed dramatically. "May I have this dance, Mrs. Bennet?" Sophia's laughter rang like bells as she let him spin her beneath the golden leaves. And in that moment, with their blended family's joy surrounding them, every heartache had been worth it. The first snow of winter was falling when an unexpected knock echoed through Daniel's cozy cottage. He opened the door to find a teenage girl shivering on his porch, his eyes wide with nervous determination. "Mr. Carter." Her voice trembled. I think you're my grandfather." The mug of hot cocoa slipped from Daniel's hand, shattering against the hardwood floor. Inside, as the girl Mira unfolded her story, Daniel's world tilted again. His estranged son from a college relationship, a son he'd never known existed, had passed away in a car accident. Mira's mother had recently found old letters mentioning Daniel. Sophia arrived within 20 minutes, Michael right behind her with their emergency family crisis cheesecake. Lucas came next, still in his doctor scrubs, with Emily bringing extra blankets. By midnight, the entire clan was crammed into Daniel's living room, passing tissues and trading stories. Mira watched in awe as this makeshift family absorbed her without hesitation. "You're a Carter," Sophia declared, wrapping the stunned girl in a hug that smelled like lavender and home. That means you're stuck with us now. As Daniel locked eyes with Sophia across the room, he saw his own wonder reflected in her gaze. Just when they thought their family story was complete, the universe had added an entirely new chapter. Daniel sat frozen in his armchair, watching Mira trace her fingers along the family photos on his mantel. The firelight caught the familiar curve of her smile, so like his own mother's. His chest ached with decades of missed moments. Sophia settled beside him, her warm hand covering his trembling one. "We should call a family meeting," she murmured. "Everyone needs to hear this story properly." The next evening, the Bennett Carter household overflowed with noise and chaos. Lucas and Emily kept Mira engaged with baby photos of her father, while Michael expertly coordinated a feast large enough for their suddenly expanded clan. Little Lily clung to Mira's side, instantly enamored with her new big cousin. As the last casserole dish found its place on the crowded table, Daniel stood with a glass of wine, his voice thick. "Before we eat, there's something important we need to do." He walked to Mira, placing in her hands a worn leather album. "This is your history," he said. "Every Carter since 1892. Tonight we add your branch to the family tree." Tears spilled down Mira's cheeks as she turned the yellowed pages. Sophia produced a fountain pen, while Michael cleared space at the dining table. Lucas pulled up birth records on his laptop, and Emily began sketching a beautiful new family diagram. In that moment, Daniel realized the true magic of their unconventional family. It wasn't just about blood or shared history. It was about the willingness to make space at the table, to rewrite the story to include every lost soul who found their way home. As Mira carefully inked her father's name onto the parchment, Lily climbed into her lap. "Does this mean you're my family now?" the little girl asked. Mira looked around at the expectant, loving faces surrounding her. "I think," she whispered, "it means I always was." The first frost painted delicate patterns on the windows as the entire Carter Bennett clan gathered around the fireplace for Mira's official welcome ceremony. Daniel had spent weeks preparing, collecting photographs, letters, anything that could help piece together the life of the son he'd never known. Sophia arranged the artifacts on the coffee table with museum curator care. "Look at this," she whispered, holding up a faded concert ticket stub. He loved Springsteen too. Her eyes met Daniel's, shimmering with shared wonder at these unexpected connections. Mira sat cross-legged on the rug, carefully examining each item. "Dad never talked much about his childhood," she admitted. I think he believed he wasn't wanted." The crackling fire seemed to hush as Daniel knelt before her. "Oh, sweetheart," his voice broke. "If only I'd known." Lucas surprised everyone by producing a small velvet box. "We can't change the past," he said, opening it to reveal a delicate silver necklace with intertwined family initials. "But we can make damn sure you never doubt your place in this family again." As he fastened it around Mira's neck, Lily clambered onto the couch beside Michael. "Grandpa Mike, does this mean we need a bigger Christmas tree?" The room erupted in laughter that dissolved the last remnants of tension. Michael wiped his eyes. "Absolutely, Peanut. Big enough for all our new ornaments." Later, as the others decorated cookies in the kitchen, Daniel found Sophia sorting through more memorabilia. "You're remarkable," he murmured. "The way you've embraced all this." Sophia turned a photograph toward him, a grinning toddler on a tricycle. "Every piece matters," she said simply. "Even the ones we find late." Outside, the first snowflakes of December began to fall, blanketing their imperfect, ever-expanding family in quiet beauty. The Carter Bennett household buzzed with holiday chaos as December 24th arrived. Daniel stood on a wobbly ladder, stringing lights around the massive new Christmas tree while Mira and Lily debated ornament placement below. "Higher on the left, Grandpa," Lily called, her tiny hands covered in glitter. Sophia emerged from the kitchen, flour dusting her sweater. "Michael's making his famous eggnog," she announced, then paused, her gaze catching on Daniel's precarious perch. For heaven's sake, Daniel, let Lucas do the high ones. Just then the front door burst open. Lucas and Emily struggled in with armloads of presents, their cheeks rosy from the cold. "You'll never guess who we ran into at the post office," Lucas said, kicking snow from his boots. Behind them, an elderly woman stepped hesitantly into the foyer. Daniel nearly fell off the ladder. "Mom!" Evelyn Carter, now 87 but still sharp-eyed, took in the scene. Her gaze lingered longest on Mira. "So," she said, her voice trembling only slightly, "this is the granddaughter I never knew about." The room held its breath as Mira stepped forward. Then Evelyn opened her arms, and the years of separation melted away in a tearful embrace. Sophia quietly began setting an extra place at the table. Michael adjusted the holiday playlist to include Evelyn's favorite carols. And little Lily, ever perceptive, climbed onto the piano bench to play Jingle Bells, with enthusiastic if off-key joy. As Daniel watched his mother laugh with his newfound granddaughter, as he saw Sophia sharing cooking tips with Emily while Lucas and Michael debated football, he realized this was the true magic of family. Not perfection, but the willingness to make space for every unexpected gift life brought their way. Somewhere outside, church bells began to ring. The grandfather clock struck midnight as the Carter-Bennett household erupted in cheers, clinking glasses, and a shower of glittering confetti. Daniel watched with a full heart as Mira taught Evelyn how to take a selfie with the boisterous group, while Michael and Lucas engaged in an exaggerated debate about resolutions. But as the celebration wound down, Sophia noticed Daniel standing alone by the frosted window, his reflection ghostly against the dark glass. She joined him quietly, pressing a warm mug of cocoa into his hands. "Penny for your thoughts," she murmured. Daniel exhaled slowly, watching his breath fog the cold pain. "I keep thinking about all the years we lost," he admitted. "All the empty chairs that should have been filled." Sophia followed his gaze to where Lily now slept curled against Mira's shoulder, Evelyn gently stroking the child's hair. "But look at all the chairs that are filled now," she said softly. Just then Mira approached hesitantly. "Grandpa, Grandma Evelyn says. She says there's something we need to see." In the study, Evelyn carefully unfolded a yellowed envelope containing a stack of letters tied with ribbon. Correspondence from Daniel's estranged father, who had passed years before ever knowing about his secret grandson. As Daniel handled the fragile pages with trembling fingers, he realized with sudden clarity that their family tapestry wasn't just being rewoven. It had always been whole. The threads had simply been waiting to be pulled back together. Outside, the first snowflakes of the new year began to fall, each one a promise of fresh beginnings. Years later, on a golden afternoon in late autumn, the entire Carter-Bennett clan gathered in the backyard of the family home. The sprawling oak tree, the one Daniel and Sophia had planted when Lucas was born, now stood tall and broad, its branches sheltering multiple generations. Lily, now a bright-eyed teenager, was setting up a projector screen, while Mira, her ever-devoted cousin, helped arrange chairs in neat rows. Michael and Emily strung fairy lights through the branches, their laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves. Sophia, her hair fully silver but her spirit as vibrant as ever, adjusted the photo boards displaying decades of memories. Birthdays, holidays, graduations, and countless ordinary moments made extraordinary by love. Daniel stood at the center of it all, holding a worn leather journal. He waited as the family settled into their seats, their faces glowing in the warm light. 30 years ago, he began, his voice steady but thick with emotion, I stood in a grand ballroom and saw the life I had thrown away. I thought my mistakes had cost me everything. But what I didn't understand then was that love isn't a finite thing. It doesn't run out. Grows. It expands. It makes room. He looked at Sophia, who smiled back at him with tears in her eyes. This family wasn't built on perfection. It was built on forgiveness, on second chances, on the courage to say, I was wrong, and the grace to say, you are still loved. Lucas, now a father himself, reached for Emily's hand. Michael placed a gentle palm on Sophia's shoulder. Little Noah, the newest addition to the family, dozed peacefully in Mira's arms. The world tells us that broken things lose their value, Daniel continued. But the truth is, the cracks are where the light gets in, where love finds its way. He closed the journal and stepped back, gesturing to the family around him. Look at us. Look at what we've built, not in spite of our flaws but because of them. Because we chose to keep loving even when it was hard, even when it hurt. Sophia stood and took his hand. And that, she said softly, is the real miracle. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose, the family gathered in one big, imperfect, beautiful embrace. And so, the story doesn't end. It simply becomes part of the legacy they leave behind. A reminder that love, when rooted in forgiveness, can heal even the deepest wounds. And that family isn't just who you're born to, it's who you choose to hold on to.